I now call the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is the moment to repay the trust of those who sent us here by delivering on the people's priorities with the most radical Queen's speech for a generation. And if there was one resounding lesson of this election campaign, one message I heard in every corner of these islands, it's not just that the British people want their government to get Brexit done, though they do. They want to move politics on and move the country on. Building hospitals, renewing our schools, modernising our infrastructure, making our streets safer, our environment cleaner, our union stronger. And this Queen's speech of this people's government sets in motion a vast interlocking programme to unite and level up across the whole United Kingdom and unleash the potential of all our people. This one-nation government will enshrine in law record funding for our NHS, take back control of our borders with a wholly new immigration system, toughen our criminal justice system with longer sentences for the most dangerous offenders, double investment in basic science research, and protect our environment with a bill so ambitious and so vast that there is no environmentally friendly way of printing it off. And, Mr. Speaker, this is not a programme for 1 year or one parliament. It is a blueprint for the future of Britain. Just imagine where this country could be in 10 years' time. Trade deals across the world, creating jobs across the UK. 40 new hospitals, great schools in every community, and the biggest transformation of our infrastructure since the Victorian age. British scientists using new gene therapies to cure the incurable, the hitherto incurable, and leading the dawn of a new age of electric vehicles, not just cars, but planes, pioneering solutions to the challenge of climate change. And I do not think it vainglorious or implausible to say that a new golden age for this United Kingdom is now within reach. And in spite of the scoffing, in spite of the negativity, in spite of the scepticism that you will hear from the other side, we will work flat out to deliver it. Mr. Speaker, Her Majesty's gracious speech was expertly proposed by a beacon of our one-nation conservatism, my honourable friend, the member for Chatham and Aylesford, who is not only a football coach of great distinction, who has done much to champion the female game, which will be a key part of this country's bid for the 2030 World Cup. But she is so personally skilled at the game, with what has been described by her adversaries as a take-no-prisoners style, that according to the Daily Telegraph, and if you can't believe the Daily Telegraph, Mr. Speaker, what can you believe? She was once barred from playing against men to protect their egos, and has even used this dispatch box. For an impromptu game of kicking up. He uses this dispatch box as a goal mouth, Mr. Speaker, in what was probably one of the less shocking innovations tolerated by the previous Speaker. My honourable friend has also done pioneering work on tackling loneliness, improving dementia care, and curbing the harms, as we've heard, inflicted by gambling and alcohol, and is so dedicated to her job that she's regularly brought her son Freddie into the lobbies, so reducing the voting age to about 6 months. And Chatham's great parliamentary sketch writer, Charles Dickens himself, would confirm that her speech was in the very finest traditions of this House. She was followed with great style by my honourable friend, the member for Walsall North, when he addressed this House for the first time in 2017. He said, and I quote, "The good people of Walsall North have had to wait 41 years to hear a maiden speech from their MP. You can imagine how disappointed they will be." Well, my honourable friend was being characteristically modest, but I cannot help noticing how the good people of Walsall North have taken drastic steps to avoid another maiden speech. They not only re-elected my honourable friend, but they've quintupled his majority just to be sure. Mr. Speaker, as the honourable right honourable member of opposition has pointed out, you wait years for a Queen's speech, and then along come two in short order, something my honourable friend will appreciate as one of the growing number of bus drivers' children on Conservative benches. He was elected as a. I know you want to ask about. I know the honourable gentleman wants to ask about buses, but I must make sense. He was elected as a blue-collar Conservative from a traditionally Labour seat, a path that many have just followed. And since then, as he pointed out quite rightly, he has secured funding for a new A&E department at his local hospital, a new railway station for Willenhall. I know he comes from a Labour family. In fact, I think his brother is a Labour councillor. And when he first declared himself a Conservative, he felt, he said, like the black sheep of the family. All I can say is I bet if they're watching today, they will feel nothing but pride in my brilliant speech. Mr. Speaker, let me also welcome to his place. Let me welcome to his place, right honourable gentleman, the leader of the opposition, a stickler, as we all know, for watching a Queen's speech at the right time. Though I don't know what he has against coronation chicken, Mr. Speaker. As our exchanges across these dispatch boxes come towards a close, alas, let me say that our personal relations have always been excellent, and as for all our disagreements, I have never doubted that the right honourable gentleman's beliefs are deeply held, and his sincerity is to be admired. Certain members of his shadow cabinet, on the other hand, are absolutely clear where the responsibility of the election result lies. The voters of the country have let their side down, let his side down. They have forfeited the confidence of the opposition, and the time has come for Labour to take the only possible step: dissolve the electorate and replace it with a new one. At least I think that's what the lady for Islington and Finsbury said. For my own part, Mr. Speaker, I feel a colossal sense of obligation to the electorate that I and we are humbled to serve, and to those people who lent us their votes, however hesitantly. This government will now engage flat out on a programme of change for the better. Tomorrow is the day when we finally peel back the plastic wrapping about which you have heard so much, Mr. Speaker, and present our oven-ready deal, and it will go into the microwave as the withdrawal agreement. It works in both devices, this deal. Taking back control of our money, our borders, our laws, our trade, clearing the way for an overarching programme of national renewal. And above all, it is time to invest in that institution that gives the country its cohesion and even our national spirit. The simple and beautiful idea that whoever you are, the NHS is there for you when you fall sick. And as our NHS cares for us, so we will care for the NHS, delivering the biggest cash boost in a generation, and for the first time this Queen's speech guarantees a new funding settlement in law. And what will that pay for, Mr. Speaker? I hear you ask. The biggest hospital building programme in living memory, with 40 new hospitals, 50,000 more nurses and their bursaries, 6,000 more GPs, 50 million more GP appointments, and we will introduce an NHS visa, a new NHS visa, to fast-track talented staff from overseas. We will scrap those iniquitous hospital parking charges for all staff and vulnerable people, and we will guarantee dignity and fairness for everyone in their later years with a long-term and sustainable solution to social care. And indeed, I invite cross-party work on that solution in the spirit of cooperation that I think is supported by many, many members on both sides of this House. And, Mr. Speaker, while many of these measures were indeed foreshadowed in the last Queen's speech, fortified by our new mandate, we will go even further. We will give millions of tenants greater rights over their rented homes, abolishing no-fault evictions. We will help millions of commuters whose lives are made miserable by strike action, by imposing minimum service agreements. on that. I'm happy to give way. If he's opposed to helping struggling commuters, and I'm delighted to hear from him. Go on.
Earlier on, he used the slogan "People's Parliament," but the people of Scotland rejected his government. And if he really believes in the people, isn't it right the people of Scotland should have their say in a referendum?
Mr. Speaker, I think it was Nicola Sturgeon herself who said that the referendum in 2014 was a once-in-a-generation event. And I don't know about you, Mr. Speaker, but I feel that the Scottish Nationalist Party should concentrate more on delivering on the domestic priorities of the people of Scotland and rather less on breaking up our United Kingdom. We will abolish. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that if I gave way to the honourable gentleman, I would be forced to repeat the point I've just made. We will abolish the threat of no-fault evictions, and we will take forward our plans to rejuvenate and, in some cases, and in many cases, Mr. Speaker, to revolutionise the infrastructure of Britain, including Northern Powerhouse Rail. We will remedy the scandal that Leeds is the largest city in Western Europe without a light rail or a metro. We are dramatically improving local bus services, levelling up across the country to the standards set in London, at least as they were set under a previous mayor. And we are investing nearly £30 billion in our road network, including upgrading the A66 to the first continuous dual carriageway across the Pennines since the 1970s. And above all, this one nation government will strengthen our United Kingdom of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, the most successful union in history, and a sacred inheritance that this Parliament will never allow anyone to rip up or rend asunder. And we will stand by one of the greatest international symbols of British courage and daring, our armed forces. The men and women who sacrifice so much to safeguard our way of life. We will protect our protectors from unfair and vexatious legal claims which undermine their morale and confidence. And we will spare no effort in addressing the profound concerns of millions about the state of our criminal justice system, with the first Royal Commission for almost 30 years. And action now to impose tougher sentences on the most serious offenders. Now, if the honourable lady opposite actually wants to contest the need for tougher sentences for serious offenders, I'm happy to hear her view.
I'm very grateful to the Prime Minister for giving way. I'd like to ask him, in the Queen's speech there was mention of a sentencing bill. Will this include provision for increasing the sentence for death by dangerous driving from 14 years to life imprisonment? And if it won't, is the government open to accepting an amendment?
The honourable lady makes an important and valid point, and I have no doubt that she reflects the concerns of her constituents, and we will certainly be looking at what we can do to make sure that people who are guilty of dangerous driving do receive the penalties that they deserve. And I know that the Home Secretary will listen very carefully to what she has said. We will end the dangerous practice of early release of terrorists. But our reforms will only stand the test of time if our system of government here at Westminster meets the challenge of a new era. The steady erosion of faith in politics has poisoned our public life, and so we will establish a Constitution, Democracy and Rights Commission to recommend proposals to restore trust in our institutions and our democracy. And, as a first step, we will repeal the Fixed Term Parliament Act, so that never again can we have the ludicrous spectacle of an opposition party trying to defy the will of a majority of the House and run away from a general election. And we will do everything in our powers. To restore devolved government in Stormont so that Northern Ireland is once again ruled by its own elected representatives. And when it comes to standing by our friends, on the Northern Ireland, of course.
I thank the Prime Minister for giving way, and of course we all look forward to devolved government being re-established in Northern Ireland fairly and equitably for all. Will the Prime Minister make good on his commitment for a golden age of all of the United Kingdom by ensuring that he makes good on the promises made for bus building in Northern Ireland and for infrastructure in Northern Ireland, so as we can all enjoy the golden age of infrastructure and build the Boris Bridge, not just the Boris bus?
Well, I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman, and I think he can certainly be assured of my commitment to ensuring that beautiful buses continue to be built in Ballymena. And I will do everything we can to make sure that continues to be the case. As for his desire for a bridge to connect the two biggest isles in the British Isles, all I can say is a very interesting idea. I advise him to watch this space and indeed watch that space between those islands, because what he has said has not fallen on deaf ears, Mr. Speaker. And when it comes to standing by our friends, whether in Northern Ireland or elsewhere, one innovation that this Queen's speech introduces, Mr. Speaker, is that we will stop public bodies from taking it upon themselves to boycott goods from other countries to develop their own pseudo-foreign policy against countries which, with nauseating frequency, turns out to be Israel. Mr. Speaker, the scale of our programme is matched only by the sense of responsibility that falls upon us now, upon all of us now who have been elected. And again, I congratulate all new members, but a huge responsibility falls upon all of us now to redeem and to repay the trust of the British people. And I say to the people of this country, we owe you. We know it, and we will deliver. And we have now the energy, we have the ideas, we have the mandate, we have the people, and we will spare no effort to fulfil that mandate. And as we engage full tilt now in this mission of change, I am filled with invincible confidence in the ability of this nation, our United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, to renew itself in this generation as we have done so many times in the past. And after the dither, after the delay, after the deadlock, after the paralysis and the platitudes, the time has come for change and the time has come for action. And it is action that the British people will get from this gracious speech, this most gracious speech, and I commend it to the House.